It was clear that until we come to terms with the fact that there has to be a redefinition of what it is. People get into a relationship and go because there is no clarity as to why they're together. There will always be confusion and crisis. So if there's anything that this series has started to help those that probably are just getting into their relationships or about to get married, or those that are already in this relationship, is that you just must understand that for every relationship there must be a purpose. Okay, Don P, I see you. Yeah, there must be a purpose. There must be a purpose for every relationship. And Peggy, you're welcome. Minife, you're good to have you here. Once you understand the purpose behind a relationship, then clearly it's easier for you to begin to make work towards those plans. What usually happens is that people are driven by emotions, and emotions are not able, to take us to that level. So emotions are usually not sufficient to help keep the relationship going. So what I urge people to do is that they must have a purpose behind every of their relationships, and in defining that purpose, they must have a plan. And when each other, when we are all, we all understand our roles and our responsibilities as spouses, we then are able to move forward. So remember, I told you one of the things that informed starting out with this program was that I've been married for 20 years and counting, still counting, right? But there are a couple of things that I experienced that I probably wish I was informed, and that way it probably would have also led to even a much more beautiful relationship. But yes, we keep learning every day, and I'm sharing this just so that peradventure you are going through a stormy relationship, don't give up. So yes, like I said, also the first 5 years of my marriage was hell. It was hell, and but one was able to move through because of that. There was something I called the secret key. I called it commitment. So today, we're going to be taking this a notch higher, and it's going to be about a scenario where, because the world is shifting, the dynamics of work is shifting. That's also how it affects the workplace and also marriages. That people and marriages and the roles are moving from Oga to partner. Okay, the roles in relationships, as we speak right now, is beyond the what do you call it? Just having the man has to be solely in charge. We've come to an era, even as the workplace is shifting, the nature of the dynamics of relationships are also shifting. Just also, that's what's also happening in homes and with relationships, where the man and the woman must now begin to move from one party dominating to a point where there's a power share. Okay, and once you begin to understand this somewhat, it puts you in a better dimension, in a better position to be able to embrace collective leadership, that collegiate leadership in a relationship. So yes, there's still the patriarchal tendencies around, the man is the head, all right? But notwithstanding, in terms of decision making, in terms of the share of power, there just must be the opportunity to decimate or decentralize power across levels. So I like to start with a question that do you honestly believe that one partner should hold more power in a relationship? It's something that you probably want to just reflect on. Or should it be equal? Okay, or does having more power make you build a better relationship? Because this whole thing about yes, I'm the man, the woman who is in charge. I think it boils down to immaturity, and I can honestly tell you that because where there's power, you don't need to negotiate and start to prove that you have power. It's almost like a president, right? You're already the president. Nobody's going to take that from you. Now, well, I used to operate at that level also, where I felt that I'm the boss and then my way must always move. Well, I also told you guys before now as to when I wasn't clear about my strengths. So it's possible that we have different and varying personalities. And my top 5 strengths was around strategy, command. In fact, I'm going to be talking a bit about command today. One of my innate strengths is command. So it was about where I was always showing up. I always wanted to be in charge. I wanted to carry always wanted to be heard. Almost like having a dominating personality, right? Or domineering personality. But it was from a place of immaturity because it was when I started to understand myself, I started becoming aware of myself that I was not able to manage and I could beware of some of my limitations or the limitations of my immaturity. And so when people have not come to terms with who they are truly, what you naturally experience is that they always want to show or prove that they're in charge. But once you have taken cognizance of who you are, you can regulate yourself. So remember, I was talking about having the issues around power sharing in relationships. But beyond just having to power share in relationships is the fact that it's essential we must share power. And that the relationships of today requires that balanced approach. Because once we don't share power, we begin to experience resentment, conflict, avoidance, and so many other things. So someone will say, okay, why share power? Okay, notwithstanding that the culture is shifting, notwithstanding that when we are not vulnerable, we kind of create distances, because in the last episode I was talking about vulnerability and that how not being vulnerable also limits our ability to build intimacy. Okay, so today as we talk about power sharing and we begin to say, okay, why then must we begin to understand that having to say you are the organ in a relationship, like the boss in a relationship, is outdated. And that true leadership in marriage is about partnership. I remember when we started to talk about the roles of the man in the dynamics of today's relationship, in the redefined masculinity of today, we said man is much more than a provider. He's also a partner. He's a protector. He's he's supposed to be the patriarch. He's supposed to be the procreator. He's supposed to be the priest. He's supposed to be what? If you can remember, just drop it in. But yes, those are the things that the man should be. So, and all of this, one of the things that is very significant is that man should be a partner. And so once we understand the dynamics and the definition of man in a relationship, then today you begin to understand why there is a need to have a power share. Okay, and why power sharing is important. And one of the things about power sharing is that you just realize that once you balance the power, it's not so much as to who is in charge, but it's about can the work be done. So there's this thing I always joke about. If you are so focused on calling the shot, it's a case of a snake going into a room, okay? And you're saying, no, it must be me that must decide who kills the snake. And the snake is moving up and down, right? But can we just get the snake killed? And that's what we need to understand, even as men, in redefining masculinity today, is that it's about what is the objective of this control or this power or sharing. Is it not to achieve results faster, better? Even in organizations, right? You see that people kind of decentralize or delegate responsibilities and roles, right? The reason why that must be done is that you might just be making some error, right? You could come in from a different point of view which is already flawed. So we say the reason why people must come together and take collaborative shots at decision making in relationships is that it helps to build mutual respect and trust. Okay, we're able to build mutual respect and trust. And once you build mutual respect and trust, you soon realize that as you start to give room for your partner to have a say in a decision, you also begin to see how that decision is well able to steer you in the right direction. So I've had some decisions I had to take on my own, where before I thought I was the only one that could take a decision. Oh, just even a case in point. 2 days ago, I was at the airport and I'd missed my flight. Before now, I would always think I knew how to solve that problem. And just whilst I was being vulnerable with my wife, it just occurred to me that she had created some relationships with some people at the airport, and where they were trying to, fleece me of some ardent naira, it was a local flight, and there I was in relating with her, able to save almost 100,000 naira. Yes, because right then and there, somebody was saying there was a flight for 250,000, and alternatively, there was, by this unusual intervention by my wife, by someone just placing a call, they also realized that there was another call, another flight, and I could easily go on that flight, and that saved me 100,000. So when we balance power sharing, we start to build mutual respect and trust. Now, what do you think that happens? Who would I call when I want to also get another flight, or when I'm in that kind of difficult situation? And that's also how it works with me, right? There are a couple of things that she probably would have had to ask, on, and then I'm able to give an informed or better solution or alternative. Another thing this does when we go on is that this understanding of power sharing or balancing of power honestly just helps to foster emotional intimacy by giving your spouse a voice. Please, if you are joining and you understand and you are interested in taking this to reach more audience, particularly for the women that love their men, please share and tap like. You could give a flower. You could just appreciate just the thoughts around it. So yes, like I said, we must balance power. And people talk about I'm the man. That era is over. We are all equal. In fact, with the direction of the affirmative action, gender equality, and equity, you find out that it just helps to balance the tension. A lot of men are dying, and men, look, this by having to have a partnership relationship, a collaborative relationship with your spouse, does not make you less of a man. Honestly, true power in marriage is collaboration, not control. Just notice it. Those that you've tried to control, and I'm talking to the men right now, those that you've tried to control, after some time, what happens? So there are three things that could possibly happen. There's either the fight, you fight and banter back, okay? Or you get into a point of fright, you get them scared. Or at some point, there's flight, and they leave. Okay, so the question is, why do you want to operate your relationship based on fear or fright, just so that you are in control? There really ain't any need for that. And so I always encourage people, I say, you know what? In every relationship, create balance, create some balance, okay? Create balance around having to leverage decision making, because true power in every relationship is when there's collaboration, when you all work together, when we decide together, when we put two heads. The people that came up with that saying that two heads are better than one, okay, so two good heads are better than one, they probably had something in mind, right? They weren't dull about it. Okay, and it was even Stephen Covey, the guy that wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that said 1 + 1 is equals to 8. Okay, that means that the powers that you generate, okay, from your collective decision making can lead to quantum impact. Okay, so true power, true power in marriages is in collaboration. Now, someone might say, well, why must we do that? I said, look, when we collaborate, it deepens the emotional connection. And we established that in the last series when we said once we are vulnerable, once you are able to show your true emotions to your spouse, you just soon realize that you are open, and in your openness there's the growth, intimacy grows. Okay, now a marriage based on this level of partnership just drives emotional intimacy. You guys are well able to share your ideas, your feelings, and it just creates room for more connection. So partnership, like I would say, in this era and in this time, is important, and it will build emotional intimacy when you give your partner a voice. It gives them a sense of belonging. Even your children, even your workmates, if you're in the office and you are the only one that calls the shot, after some time, a couple of things will happen. Now, something happened to me. I went on a trip, and because I'd been so open with my colleagues, they did a major office reorganization. And well, because I had not created fear, so the worst that will happen is, oh, this is not nice, can we rearrange it back? But immediately they did. I came back, I met it, and I was like, wow. Now, what would I have missed if it had always been me? I would have missed a lot. The creativity, the ingenuity that they brought to play, all right? The beauty of that ability to take decisions based on vested trust also is beneficial to me, right? So I tell you guys, collaboration in marriages or partnerships, in relationships, and when we don't share, when we are both sharing power, breeds room for balance. And once there's balance, there's stability. Balance, yeah? All right. But once it's rocky, right, there's no stability now, and then there's friction, and then it gets heated up, and maybe there will be flight. So when you are taking decisions, don't be hell-bent on it must be your decision that must always have the way. In fact, the world order now is that we must balance all opinions and come up with what we call superior argument. So sharing power helps to eliminate resentment and builds mutual investment. Because when we don't share power, eventually you find out that our partners become critical. They also become condescending. They become defensive and almost begin to stonewall. All right? And that way you soon realize that you are no longer in a relationship. Okay? You are in a dictatorship. Yeah. And you can imagine, in a militarized economy or country, right? Just like in the home, where decisions are not democratized, where power is not shared, where there is no collective decision making, when it has to be, I am the boss, I'm the man, that's why I must take the decision. What would have happened is that all of those things around fear, all of those things around intimidation, all of those things about humiliation, domination would have started to seep in. And that way, you just have a statue. So even if things are going wrong or bonkers, it would start to create a distance, okay, in the intimacy level. It will make sure, it would even lead to the fact that you cannot be vulnerable. And so I always encourage people in any form of relationship, whether in the workplace, whether at home, whatever it is, please allow there to be some balancing of decision making. Bring inputs. It's like when we spice it up together, we get better flavor, right? And that's what power sharing is in relationships. So how then do we start to have people move from the Oga to being a partner? Okay, and it's important to always have to discuss this, because I've had those instances in the past where I took a terrible decision that it impacted my relationship. But when I started to give room for insights, so a case in point, there was a time I was hell bent on, this was the school the children were meant to go, but they were not getting the full benefits, right? And somehow along the line, one day my wife called me and says, you know what, I think I found a couple of schools, and I thought that we should do some visits there. Now, ordinarily, left to me, I would not have been able to even discover those schools. But from just giving her room to be able to express herself, we went scanning for those schools. Unknown to me, the school I settled for was the same school also she settled for. And we took that decision, and honestly, I can tell you, that was one of the best decisions we've taken together. What do you think he did? He also buoyed the confidence of the beneficiaries, our children. They felt so happy, that that we collectively came to the same position. And even me, I was so much in a hurry to get them started in that school. Those are some of the things that when we let go of control, we're able to gain something more valuable, that is cost effective and more efficient. So just to stay on course with this is that we must move from being that domineering partner or domineering person, okay, to becoming a partner, as the case may be. So how do you move from being Oga to partner? Okay, you must practice listening. One of the things that people don't do in relationships is that they don't listen. Can we begin to listen to ourselves? Listen to your spouse. Listen to your partner. Okay, if this is making sense, you probably want to drop a comment. You want to share. You want to tap. Get this going. Let it reach all. As many as possible. To all the ladies that love their men. This just enables you to be able to meander through some of those stormy weathers in relationships. Remember, I told you the first 5 years of my marriage was hell, but there was just something significant. It was my ability to reflect now, to get into a point of emotional maturity that was able to also help me meander through it. So, if you want to help your spouse move from, or you as an individual, you want to move as a man in these redefined times, move from being the Oga to a partner, you must practice listening, okay, and not commanding. Yes, we're not in a military era, right? And I said it's a relationship and not a dictatorship. So listening is the first step in moving in this thing called partnership, right? Sharing power builds mutual strength and resource. But one thing is that in listening, we are making the first step, okay, in moving from control to partnership. Do you agree with me? I'm sure somebody's wondering, look, this man, just bashing us anyhow. Look, don't let your ego feed you. A lot of us have been fed by our egos or ego, as the case may be. But the issue is from a point of not knowing. And the times that we're in are fast shifting. So if the times are shifting, can we at best, become more amenable, okay, to having us become partners rather than becoming dictators in our relationships? So another thing this also does is that, once we begin to have our partners involved in decision making, it brings a sense of belonging. I don't know how to overemphasize that, but when anybody you include in your decision making, even in my organization, once I begin to bring in my colleagues to come and hear their views, what do you think ultimately changes? Okay, you find out that they just begin to bring better opinion and better value. And who benefits the most? the organization or the institution or the relationship, to the extent that you find out that some of these minor decisions can, almost like the butterfly effect or ripple effect, change the dynamics of several other things in the relationship. Remember, I told you about an episode where we took a collective interest to, put our children in a particular school. There was a financial, it was more of an informed decision that led to a financial decision that made us to also be able to, also fully appreciate value. We got value from that relationship. And it also helped us to also see ourselves as better parents. So there's so many advantages. Partnership begins when both partners are included in the decision making process. Now, what it also does is that it helps you to recognize the strength of your partner. Look, there are some things now that I know, either from my partner or those I work with in my office, or in communities where I serve, is that once you know people's strengths, you can deploy those strengths. Now, if I'm having a hard time negotiating with an individual, or I feel that because I'm poor with relationship building, who do you think I'm going to push? My wife is winning others over. I'll just tell her, please, can you help me talk to A? Or if I see that somebody is, snuffing life or wants to snuff life out of me, and I truly, truly cannot manage that madness, look, my wife is suited to manage any kind of madness. I said, Ramsey, do you mind helping me to just help me talk to this person? And it also happens in the office also. So do you see what I'm saying? Once we understand each other's strengths, your spouse's strength, it just allows them to lead in those areas. If I want to do anything now in terms of party, in terms of the I'm there, who do you think I'm going to consult? It's my madam now. She's vast in that area. She will even save me money. But imagine if I was the only one saying no, my shot is my shot. I want to do this. I would have missed it. So we're saying move on to helping your spouse identify their strengths and then allow them to lead in those areas. Another thing we must do is that avoid power struggles. When we keep fighting for who is in control, it leads to withdrawal. And once people start to withdraw, then there's a shutdown. People start to experience a shutdown. It's a teamwork. Understand the purpose. The purpose of every relationship is in towards achieving certain outcomes or certain goals or a purpose. So once that purpose is not clear, what eventually begins to happen is that there is a struggle, and then you see that you guys will just keep having frictions. Okay, we need to quickly run now because look, there's so many perspectives to these things. I'm sure somebody will be on this call and be wondering, how does this affect me? I'm saying even beyond being in a relationship, okay, as like a man and a woman, right? Even at the workplace, even in your church, even in your community, you must understand these dynamics of relationship matters, okay, as to how to relating with people, how to democratize power, how to balance and share power at all levels, okay? Now, so avoid power struggles. Now, what is the psychological benefits, or what are the psychological benefits of power sharing in marriage? When we are able to, kind of create that atmosphere to be able to share power, you will see that there is what we call satisfaction in the relationship. So it's more of what we say or describe as relationship or relationship satisfaction. And this is because both partners feel valued and respected, and it creates a more fulfilling and balanced relationship. So power sharing or sharing power leads to greater relationship satisfaction. Okay. Another thing about power sharing is that because light is the burden when many share the toil. Imagine one person is the only one carrying the table. If you had two people, just like Jordan said, then light is the burden when many people are sharing the toil or carrying the load. It just reduces tension, reduces stress, and creates, a more peaceful marriage. Another thing power sharing does is that because you're able to judge or talk over matters, okay, laugh at each other's stupidity and even your indecisions or even your reckless decisions, eventually you begin to see that it enhances better communication and better rapport. And that's the heartbeat of collaboration. So let's even start to wind down now, because there's a need to understand how to overcome this fear of losing control. When people usually get into this fear of losing control in relationships because they've been so used to this order. Imagine I was born in the southwest of Nigeria, and having been grown in that order, there was a way that as a man, I was postured to behave. Now, even people within your circles, imagine young guys to say, how can you allow that woman say that? Or how can you just find that it's unnecessary. Now, but by the time you start to yield, okay, what naturally happens is that you start to accept the influence of your partner. And in accepting the influence of your partner, you start to truly experience love. Okay, so I tell guys, look, real men, okay, real strength comes from collaboration and not control. And until men come to this understanding, that is when we collaborate, that we're able to build things, when we have, a common vision, a common goal in mind, those are the times when we can truly begin to experience growth in our relationships, whether at home or out of the home. Okay, so guys, real leadership in marriage is about creating a balanced relationship and not control. Whether at home, please work towards building a partnership. In my workplace, we work as a team. And because I said it's a team, we're working towards a goal, it's easier for us to achieve that because we have a common understanding. And with this understanding, we are all moving in the right and the same direction. Now, what usually happens is that once you're the only one calling the shot, there's a likelihood that, hey guys, that somehow, because you are the only one taking the shots, they'll say, okay, go ahead, even to your Waterloo. So we're saying that there must be collaborative partnerships in our relationships, at home, at work, and that's how we can build a balanced partnership where you can also get progressive results. And guys, in redefining masculinity today, almost with what I've been doing over the last few days, which is going to spread over the next 20 days, is that we must understand that leading today as a man, or being a man in a relationship today, is different from what it was 20 years ago. Okay, it's different. It's different. So we've talked about the psychological effects of having to power share. And thank you for the rose. Oh yeah, thank you, Dr. Ogula Emayawa, for the rose. I appreciate. This is encouraging. Okay, now moving in this direction, you begin to understand that real leadership in marriage is about creating a balanced partnership and not control. Now, let's come to the biblical perspective. Like for every time I share on this series, I'm talking about the psychological, the social, the biblical perspective. So, and I'm going to start to wind down with this as we go to Ephesians, 5:21. It says we are called to submit one to another out of reverence for Christ. Okay, so whatever it is, just understand that it's about collectively taking decisions. It's about allowing each other, let's weigh in on each other's insights and inputs and information, and that way we're able to make effective decisions. So, guys, we must move from being Oga to partner, so that we can transform our relationships in ways we might not expect, and it's truly going to be beneficial. Just for those that are with us on YouTube, be rest assured that the next series, as to how men should move from being disciplinarians to being dads is unfolding. I really, this is something I truly take serious thought around. And whilst we're creating this, I decided to share about this, my own point of view, as to living life as a man in this time and in this age, okay, in this post-truth era. How do you live life as a man? And that's what the entire series is all about, redefining masculinity. Just follow me on. We're starting the next series shortly. Is about, fathers telling fathers to stop just being disciplinarians, but they should be dads. Okay, they should be dads. So yes, I know you'll be joining. So same time, let's get this going.